My beloved child, pause right there, don't scroll, because something rare is happening in this exact second. There are billions of screens glowing across the planet right now. Millions of voices competing for attention. Endless noise. And yet, somehow, you found this message. Why? The title was not an accident. Final countdown. Musk's message will delete itself in 7 minutes. That phrase wasn't designed to scare you. It was designed to wake you. Because what if the real countdown is not on a screen, but inside you? Picture this. Somewhere in the world, a mind obsessed with the future is calculating trajectories, not just rockets, not just electric vehicles, not just artificial intelligence, but trajectories of humanity itself. Visionaries don't speak randomly. They release signals. And signals are never meant for everyone. Only 1% will see this. Not because it's hidden, but because only 1% are looking. Let that sink in. The future doesn't reveal itself to the distracted. It whispers to the attentive. And tonight, you were attentive. 7 minutes. Why 7? 7 minutes is long enough to change a decision. 7 minutes is enough to choose courage over comfort. 7 minutes is enough to pivot your entire direction. What if the self-deleting message isn't a file, but an opportunity? Think about how many times inspiration knocked, and you delayed it. How many ideas flickered in your mind, and you told yourself, later. How many bold moves felt possible, until fear negotiated them down to safe routines. This is different. This moment feels charged. You can feel it, can't you? A strange pull. A quiet intensity. A sense that something is aligning. The world is accelerating. Artificial intelligence is evolving by the hour. Innovation is rewriting industries overnight. The people who move first, who recognize signals early, become the architects of what comes next. And here's the truth no one says loudly: the future does not belong to the smartest. It belongs to the most aware. You're here because awareness just nudged you. Stay with me. Imagine a private transmission, not words, but a frequency. It doesn't say, "You are chosen." It says, "You are capable." It doesn't promise miracles. It demands alignment. Because what if Musk's message is symbolic? A challenge. A reminder that in a world obsessed with consumption, only a few will create. In a world drowning in distraction, only a few will focus. In a world waiting for permission, only a few will act. Only 1%. And you're still watching. That's not random. 7 minutes represents urgency without panic. Movement without chaos. It's the space between knowing and doing. So let me ask you something deeper. What idea have you been postponing? What version of yourself have you been quietly designing in your imagination, but never fully activating? Because the countdown isn't about losing something, it's about activating something. Right now, somewhere in your mind, a door is slightly open. If you close this moment, it may not disappear forever, but it will fade. Clarity has a half-life. Momentum has a window. The message deletes itself because hesitation deletes momentum, but action preserves it. Look at how the most influential innovators think. They don't wait for certainty. They respond to signals. They move while others debate. They build while others scroll. And maybe, just maybe, this video isn't about a billionaire at all. Maybe it's about the billionaire mindset inside you. The countdown has started. Not on your screen, in your awareness. And the most powerful part? You're still here. Listen carefully, the energy just shifted. You felt it, didn't you? The moment you realize this isn't about watching a message, it's about becoming one. 7 minutes. The idea lingers. A transmission that deletes itself. A signal only 1% will catch. But here's the twist. The deletion was never about secrecy. It was about selectivity. Because not everyone is ready to hear what comes next. Imagine this. Somewhere in the near future, history looks back at this era, the age of exponential growth, artificial intelligence, private space travel, digital currencies, neural interfaces, and asks one question: who adapted first? The world doesn't transform slowly anymore. It pivots in weeks. Entire industries rise and fall before most people notice. The future isn't coming. It's compiling in real time. And those who recognize patterns early become the architects of the shift. What if Musk's so-called self-deleting message is simply this: the window is short. Opportunities don't disappear dramatically. They fade quietly. They move to someone else. They reward someone braver. Stay with me here, this is important. Only 1% will see this, not because it's hidden behind a paywall or secret code, but because most people scroll past discomfort. Most people avoid messages that demand growth. You didn't. That alone separates you. But awareness is only step one. Action is the multiplier. Let me ask you something that may feel uncomfortable and powerful at the same time. If the future rewarded bold alignment starting tonight, would you qualify? Pause. Think about it honestly. Are your daily habits aligned with the life you imagine? Are your conversations expanding your vision, or shrinking it? Are you building skills that matter in 5 years, or repeating patterns that expire in 5 months? The future doesn't care about intentions. It responds to preparation. And preparation begins with a decision. Not a dramatic one. Not a loud one. A precise one. Maybe it's starting that project. Maybe it's learning that new skill. Maybe it's ending what no longer fits. Maybe it's finally believing you belong in bigger rooms. This is the part where most viewers drift away. Not because they're uninterested. Because they're confronted. Stay a little longer. Because here's the revelation, that the deleting message is symbolic of urgency. The 7-minute window represents the fragile space between inspiration and inertia. And inspiration, once ignored too often, stops knocking. You are watching this at the exact moment your mindset is flexible enough to shift. That's not coincidence. It's timing. High performers don't wait for perfect clarity. They move with partial clarity and refine along the way. That's how rockets launch. That's how companies scale. That's how revolutions start. Small decision, massive ripple. If this message resonates, even slightly, don't keep it silent. Share it with someone who thinks bigger than average. Leave a comment about the one decision you're ready to activate. And if this channel keeps bringing you signals like this, subscribe so you never miss the next one. Not as a command, as alignment. Because communities of awareness grow faster than isolated ambition. And here's something deeper. The 1% isn't a statistic. It's a mindset. It's the group that chooses growth over comfort, curiosity over fear, execution over endless planning. You're still here. Which means the countdown didn't delete you. It sharpened you. But we're not finished. What comes next will challenge everything you think you know about timing, destiny, and the role you play in the acceleration of the future. Wait for it. The signal is getting clearer. Hold on, this is where everything becomes unmistakably clear. You've stayed through the signal. You've felt the urgency. Now the deeper layer reveals itself. The countdown was never about fear of missing out. It was about recognizing alignment before it expires. 7 minutes. Not a threat. A mirror. Because in every breakthrough story, every visionary leap, every disruptive innovation, there is always a short invisible window where doubt could have won, but didn't. That window is where you are standing right now. Let's strip away the drama for a moment and look at the truth. The world is moving toward those who think ahead, those who train their minds like instruments, those who treat time as capital, those who understand that attention is the rarest currency of this era. And you've invested your attention here. That matters more than you realize. You see, when people talk about visionaries, they imagine genius. But the pattern is simpler than that. Visionaries are individuals who respond when they feel the signal, even when others laugh, hesitate, or wait for consensus. Consensus is slow. The future is not. This is the final layer of the message. The deletion isn't digital. It's psychological. If you ignore the impulse you're feeling tonight, the urge to level up, to think differently, to act deliberately, it won't vanish dramatically. It will quietly blend into routine. And routine, left unchecked, becomes limitation. But if you act, momentum compounds. Imagine waking up 6 months from now, knowing you responded when it mattered. Imagine looking back at this very moment as the pivot point, the subtle but powerful decision that shifted your trajectory. What if this wasn't entertainment? What if it was activation? You don't need permission. You need precision. Precision in what you consume. Precision in who you listen to. Precision in how you spend the next 7 days. Because 7 days of focused effort can outperform 7 months of distracted motion. The message deletes itself because hesitation dissolves clarity. But when you decide, even quietly, clarity locks in. And here's the powerful truth. You are not early. You are not late. You are exactly at the edge of your next expansion. Only 1% will recognize that this wasn't about a person, a billionaire, or a headline. It was about the mindset that builds rockets instead of watching them launch. The mindset that experiments instead of complains. The mindset that says, if the world is accelerating, I will accelerate with it. You felt something different in this video. A tension that isn't anxiety, it's potential. A countdown that doesn't scare, it focuses. And now the timer reaches 0. Not because something disappears, but because something begins. This is the moment where observers become participants, where passive scrolling turns into deliberate movement, where the future stops feeling distant and starts feeling personal. You were not meant to watch this and remain unchanged. So here's the final question, and answer it honestly in your own mind. When the next opportunity appears, will you recognize it faster? Because now you're trained to. The signal doesn't need to repeat itself. It just needed to reach you once. And it did. Wait, before you close this, feel the stillness for just a second. The countdown has ended, but something else has begun. Notice how quiet your mind feels right now. Not empty, focused. Like static has cleared and a sharper signal is coming through. That was the real message. Not a file. Not a secret code. A calibration. Because when people hear Musk's message will delete itself in 7 minutes, they imagine urgency outside of them. But the rare few understand the urgency was internal all along. You were never racing a timer. You were racing your hesitation. And hesitation just lost. Let's zoom out. Every era has a defining trait. There was the industrial age, the information age. Now we are living in the acceleration age, where technology compounds, ideas scale globally overnight, and individual leverage has never been higher. One aligned decision today can echo for decades. The 1% understand that. They treat attention like fuel. They treat time like investment capital. They treat inspiration like a launch window, not a someday wish. That's why this message couldn't stay permanent. Permanent things feel optional. Temporary things demand awareness. And awareness is what separates leaders from spectators. Think about the version of you that exists 1 year from now, the upgraded thinker, the sharper communicator, the disciplined executor. That version isn't waiting for luck. That version is built through decisions made in quiet moments like this. Moments where no one is watching, except you. This is where identity shifts, not loudly, but decisively. You don't need dramatic reinvention. You need alignment. Small adjustments repeated consistently. Focus sharpened. Distractions filtered out. Courage practiced daily instead of occasionally. That is how futures are engineered. And here's something powerful. You stayed until the end. That alone places you in a minority. Most people consume half ideas and expect full results. You followed the signal all the way through. That tells me something about you. You don't just want noise. You want clarity. If this clarity sparked something in you, share this with someone who thinks beyond limits. Drop a comment about the one move you're committing to after this. And if you want more transmissions like this, subtle, sharp, forward, focused, subscribe so you stay connected to the frequency. Not because you're told to, because you choose to. Remember, the message didn't delete itself to create mystery. It deleted itself to create movement. You're no longer in countdown mode. You're in build mode. And the world that's forming over the next decade? It will be shaped by those who responded early, thought deeply, and acted precisely. Look at you. Still here. Still focused. Still thinking ahead. That's not accidental. The signal reached you because you were ready. And from this point forward, every time you feel that subtle pull, that nudge toward growth, toward bold thinking, toward execution, you'll recognize it faster. No timer needed. Because now, you are the signal. Stay with this feeling, just a little longer. No countdown now. No ticking clock. Just clarity. This is the quiet after ignition. You expected a dramatic reveal. A secret file. A hidden phrase. Something exclusive that only a few could decode. But the real exclusivity was awareness. Only 1% will see this, not because it vanishes, but because most people never stay long enough to transform. They consume, they react, they move on. You stayed, and something subtle just shifted inside you. Let's make it undeniable. The world rewards those who understand timing. Not perfect timing, responsive timing. The ability to sense when a moment is charged and lean into it instead of shrinking back. This was one of those moments. 7 minutes symbolized the narrow space between potential and action. The self-deleting message symbolized how easily momentum disappears when ignored. But you didn't ignore it. You followed it to the end. Now ask yourself, what does someone do after recognizing a signal? They build. Not loudly, not for applause, but strategically. Think about this. The next wave of opportunity won't arrive with a warning label. It will look ordinary at first. A skill to learn. A connection to reach out to. A risk that feels slightly uncomfortable. A project that seems small. Most will dismiss it. The 1% will recognize it. Because once your awareness expands, it doesn't shrink back easily. Right now, your mind is more tuned, more selective, more intentional. You're not just absorbing information, you're evaluating your trajectory. That's growth. And growth compounds quietly before it becomes visible. 6 months from now, someone might ask what changed. They won't see this moment. They'll see results, confidence, direction, precision. But you'll know. It started when you stopped scrolling. It started when you listened fully. It started when you realized the countdown wasn't external. It was internal. The message deleted itself because it didn't need to repeat. It only needed to activate. And activation doesn't scream. It settles in. From this point forward, you'll notice something different. You'll feel impatience with distraction. You'll value depth over noise. You'll choose intentional steps instead of automatic habits. That's not motivation. That's recalibration. You don't need constant reminders anymore. You understand the pattern now: signal, awareness, decision, momentum. And momentum, once protected, becomes unstoppable. So this is not goodbye. It's a transition. You came here curious. You leave here aligned. The final countdown wasn't about losing access. It was about gaining clarity. And clarity, once earned, doesn't delete itself. It evolves with you. Now go build what only you can build. The future is not waiting. It's responding. Before you move on, breathe in this awareness one last time. Do you notice how different this feels from when you first clicked? At the beginning, there was curiosity, then urgency, then clarity. Now there is ownership. This is the part most people never reach. They chase excitement. They avoid reflection. They miss integration. But integration is where transformation locks in. The final countdown was never a spectacle. It was a structure. A carefully timed sequence designed to mirror how breakthrough actually happens in real life. First, a signal appears. Then doubt tries to interrupt. Then awareness pushes through. Then a decision forms. You just live that pattern. And here's the deeper layer. The 1% isn't a club you join. It's a standard you maintain. Every single day. It's choosing progress when comfort whispers. It's choosing long-term gain over short-term distraction. It's choosing to build even when no one applauds. That's the real message that doesn't delete itself. Think ahead one step further. In a world accelerating with artificial intelligence, automation, and exponential innovation, the most valuable skill won't be access to information. Everyone has that. It will be disciplined focus. The ability to think clearly when everything moves quickly. The ability to act deliberately when everything competes for your attention. You just practiced that. You stayed present. You followed the full arc. You resisted the scroll. That small act is symbolic of a larger capability. Because if you can control your attention, you can control your direction. And direction determines destiny. Not in a dramatic way. In a mathematical way. Small shifts times consistent repetition equals exponential change. That's how rockets reach orbit. That's how companies scale. That's how individuals redefine themselves. The countdown has ended, but the build phase has just begun. From this moment forward, you'll start noticing opportunities faster. You'll sense when something aligns. You'll feel less tolerance for mediocrity, not in others, but in yourself. That's awareness upgrading your standard. Remember this: you don't need constant urgency. You need consistent execution. You don't need hype. You need precision. And precision begins with the next action you take after this video ends. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Tonight. Maybe it's writing down a plan. Maybe it's clearing distractions. Maybe it's finally starting. Whatever it is, make it real. Because the world doesn't reward passive observers. It rewards participants who step forward when the moment feels charged. And this moment was charged. You felt it. That means you're ready. The signal reached you once. From here on, you become your own signal. Sharp, intentional, forward, moving. No more countdowns needed. Only momentum. And momentum is yours now. One last thing, and this is important. The screen is about to go quiet. The words will end. The music in your mind will soften. And then it's just you. This is the real test. Because transformation doesn't happen while watching. It happens in the silence after. You've heard about the countdown. You've understood the deletion. You've felt the activation. Now you decide what survives. Most people experience inspiration like a spark in the dark, bright for a second, then forgotten by morning. But the 1% treat inspiration differently. They protect it. They write it down. They act on it before it fades. That's the separation. And separation creates advantage. Think about the future again. Not in headlines. Not in trends. But personally. Where will you be 1 year from now if nothing changes? And where could you be if one decision shifts tonight? That gap between those two realities is not luck. It's discipline. You don't need to announce it. You don't need validation. You need movement. This entire experience was a mirror. A symbolic countdown showing you how quickly momentum can disappear, or accelerate, depending on your response. The message deleted itself because repetition weakens urgency. But you don't need repetition anymore. You understand. From here forward, whenever you feel that subtle internal countdown, that instinct saying, "This matters," you won't ignore it. You'll lean in. You'll act faster. You'll think sharper. That is growth. And growth compounds quietly before it becomes undeniable. Years from now, you may not remember the exact words spoken here, but you'll remember the feeling, the focus, the clarity, the decision. And maybe you'll look back and realize this was the moment you stopped consuming and started constructing. That's the shift. Not loud, not dramatic, but permanent. The 1% don't wait for perfect timing. They create momentum inside imperfect moments, like this one. So as this video closes, carry the signal with you. Not as hype, as standard. Build with intention. Think ahead. Protect your focus. The final countdown is over. Now it's execution time. And the future? It's watching to see who moves first. Be the one who does. And now, we arrive at the quiet edge of everything. No urgency left. No timer ticking. Just you, and the awareness you chose to keep. This is where the rare shift happens. Most people search for big, dramatic turning points. They imagine change arriving like lightning, loud, undeniable, impossible to ignore. But real transformation is quieter than that. It's a recalibration. It's the moment you decide your time is valuable. The moment you stop underestimating your potential. The moment you realize that the 1% was never about exclusivity, it was about responsibility. You reached the final layer of this transmission, not because it forced you, because you stayed. And staying is a discipline. Let's make something very clear before we close. The world does not reward potential. It rewards execution. You can feel motivated and still remain stationary. You can feel inspired and still delay action. But the people who move ahead in accelerated times understand one principle. Speed favors clarity. And clarity is what you've gained here. When others hesitate, you'll remember this moment. When doubt whispers, you'll remember how it felt to push through to the end. When opportunity appears disguised as effort, you'll recognize it faster. That recognition is power. The deletion was symbolic, because momentum fades when not protected. But you now know how to protect it. You act before the spark dims. You refine before momentum stalls. You build before excuses grow. And here's the final perspective shift. You were never waiting for a message from someone else. You were waiting to give yourself permission. Permission to think bigger. Permission to execute faster. Permission to align your habits with your ambition. That permission is now internal. No more countdowns needed. Because you understand timing. You understand leverage. You understand that attention is the gateway to direction. From this point forward, every day becomes its own 7-minute window. Every decision either compounds your growth or quietly delays it. And now you're aware enough to choose deliberately. That's the real upgrade. So as this final words settle in, don't rush away. Let them integrate. Let the clarity anchor. Then move. Open the project. Make the call. Start the plan. Refine the skill. Not dramatically, consistently. Because the future isn't built by people who watch countdowns. It's built by people who respond to them. You've responded. The signal reached you. You decoded it. You kept it. Now go create something worthy of that awareness. The final countdown is complete. Your next chapter is already in motion. And here we are, at the true ending. No more build up. No more countdown metaphors. No more layered signals. Just truth. When you first clicked on Final Countdown, Musk's message will delete itself in 7 minutes. Only 1% will see this. You were expecting something external, a hidden revelation, a disappearing secret, a rare transmission. But the rare transmission was your own awakening. The 7 minutes were never about loss. They were about attention. Because attention is the most powerful currency in this era. Billion-dollar companies compete for it. Algorithms are engineered around it. Entire industries survive because of it. And you chose to direct yours here, fully. That is not small. That is discipline in its early form. Let's close this the right way. The message deletes itself because the moment you hesitate, clarity fades. Not dramatically, not instantly, quietly, but when you act quickly, even on something small, clarity strengthens. That's the mechanism behind innovation, behind momentum, behind every leap forward. Think about it. The difference between those who build the future and those who observe it isn't intelligence. It isn't luck. It isn't access. It's response time. How fast do you move when insight appears? How fast do you commit when alignment feels real? How fast do you reduce distraction once you recognize it? You just trained that muscle. You stayed, and that staying matters. From this point forward, you won't look at time the same way. You won't ignore subtle internal signals as easily. You won't treat inspiration like entertainment. Because you've experienced what focus feels like. And focus compounds. Now imagine the ripple effect. One decision tonight leads to one improved habit tomorrow. One improved habit leads to stronger confidence. Stronger confidence leads to larger opportunities. Larger opportunities lead to exponential outcomes. It doesn't explode overnight. It expands consistently. That's how real transformation works. And now you understand something deeper than the title ever suggested. Only 1% will see this, because only 1% stay long enough to shift. Not because they are special, because they are deliberate. You proved something to yourself here. You can sustain attention. You can follow a signal fully. You can think beyond surface level noise. That is the foundation of every visionary move you will make from now on. So as this final chapter closes, don't treat it like the end of a video. Treat it like the beginning of execution. No dramatic announcements needed. No grand declarations. Just precise action. Tonight, do one thing differently. Tomorrow, refine it. This week, protect your focus. This month, measure your progress. Momentum will follow. And one day, when someone asks what changed, you won't say, I waited. You'll say, I moved. The final countdown is complete. The message did not disappear. It transformed into your next move. Now go make it.